Welcome to Smiles Television Talk Show. I'm your host, Stephanie Anthony Miles, and you're going to love this broadcast today. We'll be talking with the great-great-granddaughter of Dred Scott. In addition, we'll talk with a Mrs. Tawanda Story, who owns and who has started this great agency on the east side. It's called the Better Days Adult Home Care Center. Stay tuned for more smiles. You don't want to miss this broadcast. And in addition, all of my friends on the east side, and even you over here in St. Louis, support the Monitor newspaper. They've been in business since 1963. They're a pillar in our community and have spent years giving back. Remember that Jesus Christ was born of a virgin. He was crucified and buried and rose on the third day. Confess that he is Lord. Believe it in your heart. And stay tuned for more smiles. Thank you for staying with us. I'm sitting here with the great-great-granddaughter of Dred Scott, Lynne Jackson. Lynne, thank you for coming to Smiles Television Talk Show.
Thank you, Steph.
You know, you've been here before, and I want to thank you for coming back. We're in a new set. We're at the Demetrius Johnson Center, and we're here with the StLTV, so we want to thank them as well. But
Absolutely.
Lynne, a lot of people may not be familiar with the Dred Scott story. And I would love to tell it, but I don't want to miss anything. So if you will, tell our audience a little bit about your great-great-granddad.
Thank you, Stephanie. It's a pleasure to be back with you. And to give you the opportunity to tell this story again is also a wonderful thing, because a lot of people don't know him, although he is so well known in history. No lawyer can pass the bar without having studied Dred Scott many times in his career. So Dred Scott was an enslaved person born in Virginia around 1799. We don't know the exact date, but he also was owned by a family called the Blow family. A very famous family. In fact, Susan Blow, who started the first kindergarten, came from that family. Dred Scott moved west with that family. He came through Alabama. They lived there for a while when the family felt that they could do better. Things didn't work out that well. They moved further west and ended up in St. Louis. And so around 1830 time frame, he was in St. Louis. Things were not going so well for the Blow family. And so even though Dred Scott had been with them from birth, and even though they didn't treat him very harshly, they did have to sell him to cure a debt. And that's where the story kind of starts.
Okay, you said they had to sell him to cure a debt. So
Yes.
as a younger person, I remember going over to the courthouse. And now there are all kinds of things there in remembrance of exhibits in remembrance of Dred Scott. You were the catalyst to get that done?
Well, actually not so much that, but I did start the Dred Scott Heritage Foundation in 2006, because in 2007 we commemorated the 150th anniversary of that Dred Scott decision. Now, the Dred Scott decision is what made him famous. It was an 11-year court battle for freedom that he and his wife filed in 1846, because they had been in free territory for several years, and there was a law that said once free, always free. And they had been there, but when they came back to St. Louis, they were slaves again. The owner that sold them to cure a debt sold them to a Dr. John Emerson. And Dr. Emerson is the person who took them into some of the free territory. However, he died after they got back to St. Louis, and his widow, Irene Emerson, would not allow them to be free based on their having been on free territory. Neither would she let them buy their freedom. And they were really pressed against it because they had a daughter and they just had a brand new baby. And so they were determined to be free, and they knew they could do that through the courts.
Tell us a little bit about the connection between President Lincoln and Dred Scott.
Well, you know, when you get to President Lincoln, Dred Scott has done his thing and he has passed. But what happened was the Dred Scott Decision, which we want to say what that was. The Dred Scott Decision was passed on March 6, 1857. And it said that Dred Scott not only would not be free after having gone through 5 court cases. This was the fifth one. The U.S. Supreme Court said not only can you not be free, but you are not a citizen, and therefore you have no right to sue in court, and neither does any of the African race. And so it essentially shut down the opportunity for them to be free, for any other African American to be free, and because they had no standing as a citizen. Okay?
Wow.
And then they went further and said that the Northwest Ordinance and the Missouri Compromise, which were laws in place at that time that kept the spread of slavery from going forth in a rampant way, they struck those laws down. So now they're saying, well, you're not free, your people are not free, and by the way, we're going to expand slavery throughout the whole territories, even the uncharted territories. And that just did not sit well with the abolitionists. So ultimately, Dred Scott did get his freedom. I'm skipping a little bit to answer your question. But what happened was, of course, Abraham Lincoln was there, and he heard that decision, and he couldn't handle that. He said, no, this is not right. So he decided not to get out of politics and stayed in. And he ran for office and lost, but then he came up on the ticket, became the president who actually ended slavery.
Right.
And we know we had this horrible Civil War, which, by the way, we're in the 4th year of the commemoration of the Civil War, which was 1861 to 1865. So here we are in 2011 to 2015, and these 4 years, all over the country, people are remembering things like the Gettysburg Address and the wars and the battles. Emancipation Proclamation, which was January 1st of 2013. So next year will be the last year. And next year we will remember again what Lincoln did and how he died for that cause. But Dred Scott and Harry Scott, who, by the way, his wife sued for her freedom in a separate case, they combined them, so you didn't hear her name. You heard the Dred Scott case, but this woman, a mother of 2 daughters and a wife, an African-American woman, defied the norm and also stepped forward and put forth a petition to say, if my husband doesn't get freedom, maybe I will.
Wow. And you know, now you have a great vision. And I believe there's a 3-pronged part to that vision. Will you elaborate on that for us, please?
Right. When I mentioned a minute ago about starting the Dred Scott Heritage Foundation, we did that again to commemorate that anniversary, and that's where the courthouse brought in the exhibit for that anniversary, which was wonderful. So there's a new exhibit there, and there's also a movie. A lot of people don't know they have a theater there, and there's a little blurb there from the History Channel, and I'm in it. So they did a beautiful job of sharing that story in visual form. But the old courthouse is one of our partners, Friends of Dred Scott, as are very many other organizations here. We came together and we did this, but the most important thing is we founded it on the 3 principles of commemoration, education, and reconciliation.
Okay, and with commemoration, can you break down some of the things or activities that go along with the commemoration?
Exactly.
The first point?
Well, the first thing was that we commemorated that infamous decision 150 years later. And that brought Dred Scott back on the world stage. Fortunately, St. Louis really got behind that and rallied there. I worked at Bryan Cave Law Firm, and I still give my hats off to them because they were so wonderfully supportive and still remain so. But the goal there was to build a statue of Dred Scott because none existed in the whole world. And this still may be the only one.
Okay.
So the commemoration was the anniversary, and now this ongoing statue, which stands outside the old courthouse on 4th Street.
Okay, and with the educational part?
Education is many things that we've done, but primarily I also go around the country and I speak and I share this story with a PowerPoint presentation that's very powerful and well received. And the good news is the great diversity of people that I get to talk to. On the one hand, I was telling you earlier that I was the speaker at East St. Louis High School graduation in 2007, which was a tremendous opportunity. And then I've spoken at the National Association of Attorney Generals for their national conference in D.C., but also the Daughters of the American Revolution and colonial dames whose ancestors fought in those wars. So the teaching and the telling of the story is something that is continuous. And we have a book called Dred and Harry Scott, Their Family Story, which is the quintessential absolute truth of their family history.
I love the word reconciliation, you know, because as a Christian, God calls us to reconcile and to help reconcile the world to Him. But in the case with the Dred Scott Foundation and what you're doing, tell us a little bit about reconciliation and your efforts.
Well, when he gave me that message from on high, I said, okay, commemoration, sure. Education, no-brainer. Reconciliation, that's interesting. You're going to have to tell me what to do. So essentially, we're working out programs where every year we right now have had a reconciliation forum in Marshfield, Missouri, of all places. But we've had descendants of other famous people, civil rights leaders, Martin Luther King, Thomas Jefferson, even Jefferson Davis's great-great-grandson, people who were on the Supreme Court that did the Dred Scott decision. We've come together, and each one has a ministry or a vision, and then we share our histories collectively so that we might be able to heal our histories.
Wow, that sounds wonderful. And I know I'm cutting you a little short on that, but let me ask you this. In terms of individuals who may want to make contact with you, and you also have a trivia night coming up. So I want you to tie all of that together, give your website and information, tell them about your trivia night. And for those individuals who may be watching this broadcast, in the month of August, tell them what they can do.
Okay, we're going to be having a Dred Scott trivia night, but we're also doing it with the St. Louis African American History and Genealogy Society, where it's a fundraiser to help pay partly for the statue. It'll be on August 8th, a Friday evening, at the Electricians Hall, 5850 Hampton in St. Louis, and we would really invite you all to come. You can register on our website or call us at www.dredscottfoundation.org. And we really invite you to come out and have a great time. Bring friends, family, bring food, and come prepared to have a great night. It's not just about history, it's about everything, so you have a shot at it, and we're going to do that.
You know what, Lynn, it is such an honor to sit here with you, and I want to be able to air this broadcast more than once. And so individuals who are watching this broadcast, if you happen to be watching this after the date that Lynn just mentioned, there's a wealth of information that's being shared here. And you're the great-great-granddaughter of Dred Scott. Are you ever called the granddaughter?
I have been, actually. And I've been asked, have I ever seen him?
Oh my goodness.
I have.
Well, I want to thank you for coming to the Smile Television Talk Show. Will you come back?
Yes, I will.
Now, we have you on camera. And
we shook on it.
And we shook on it. So
Absolutely.
If the Lord wills, we would
yes,
love for you to come back.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
God bless.
And stay tuned for more smiles. When we come back, we'll be talking with Tawanda Story from the Better Days Home Care Center. Keep smiling.
Kids will spend 15 minutes watching online videos like this one.
Brushing for 2 minutes now can save your child from severe tooth pain later. 2 minutes twice a day. They have the time.
Abandoned and lost. From the dark, cold streets of the city to a cage in the local shelter, to heaven, your lap.
Up, college is hard. Down, those books are heavy.
My sport is football, but my passion is education.
Right up here.
So every year I take promising high schoolers on a college tour
Getting it. Lights there, darks there.
to show them that higher education means a brighter future. My name is Nnamdi Asamoah. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
You can be a reader, tutor, or mentor too. Take the pledge at liveunited.org/volunteer.
Do you wear this?
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Welcome back to Smiles Television Talk Show. I want to remind you to go over and visit the Dred Scott Courthouse, and you'll find some interesting information as you do. Right now, I have another guest, and her name is Tawanda Story. Tawanda Story founded the Better Days Home Care Center, and she has a program called No Senior Left Behind. Let's talk to Tawanda for a few minutes. Tawanda, thank you for coming to Smiles. And this is your second time on Smiles Television.
It is.
But you've never been in the St. Louis Center.
I have not.
St. Louis TV station before.
Right.
But tell our viewing audience a little bit about No Senior Left Behind. Let's start there, and then we're going to backtrack into the Better Days Home Care.
Of course. So No Senior Left Behind is a program that has evolved from Better Days Home Care. And that program was established once we began to provide a lot of care in the metropolitan area. We began to see a lot of seniors who have so many needs, but they may not be able to purchase, the products that they need, and they can't afford to pay for home care services or assistance. So this particular program was developed to offer these services at no cost to those seniors who qualify, and there is quite a few who qualify.
Okay, in the East St. Louis metropolitan area, it's not just East St. Louis alone, it's the metropolitan area that you're servicing. My mom has Alzheimer's,
right,
and I'm her home care giver. Are there services that I could possibly use through your organization?
Absolutely. We like to be in contact with any senior that is in the community and have a need. We do a complete assessment to find out, maybe you're calling for home care, but we can find out through that assessment that there's other things that they could definitely use help in as well. So the assessment is complete, and then we walk through the other needs and try to find out how can we match that need either through our services or through other community referrals.
Okay, do you find a lot of family members taking care of their own family at home, or are most of our seniors sent to nursing homes? And not that a nursing home is a bad place, because sometimes it gets to the point where you just can't do it.
Right.
But do you find families taking care of their own?
We have a lot of families in our community that are still going with, the old thing of we're going to keep mom home with us as long as we can. And I am an advocate of that. I say if you can keep them out of the nursing homes, out of the institutions, then let's by all means do that. So we still have quite a few families who are, able to rotate care throughout siblings and other family members to make that happen.
How did you even get started? Developing not a nursing home, but a home care service. You're 37 years old?
Yes.
Do you mind if I'm telling your age?
Oh, no, not at all. That's a blessing.
Okay, you're a young person, and here you are. You have an agency that cares for the elderly. At such a young age, where did that passion come from?
I think my grandparents are older, and they died before I was of age. Mm-hmm. So I always say that, God has given me the opportunity to have all of these new grandparents. So I'm blessed to be able to meet so many older people and to be able to help them and their families. As a nurse, I've always cared for the geriatric population, and that's where my love is, because they are a population that you have to speak for, you have to advocate for them. So it's a privilege and an honor for me to go and speak on their behalf, or get the resources that they need when they can't speak for themselves.
That's excellent, Tawanda. With the No Senior Left Behind, is that a play on words? Like No Child Left Behind?
It definitely is.
Okay.
We cannot move forward in our society economically, financially. We can't continue to build and leave our seniors behind. It's because of them that a lot of us are where we are, and able to have these great jobs and wonderful education backgrounds. So we have to stop for a moment and reach back and take our seniors with us wherever we're trying to go.
Now there's a picnic coming up.
It is.
Okay, now tell us about the picnic and active parade and things that are going to be going on.
So on Saturday, August 23rd, we, No Senior Left Behind, are collaborating with Allerton City, the city of Allerton, and the city of Centerville, Illinois. And we are going to honor all of our seniors from both cities. Again, this is a collaborative effort, but we want to make sure that all of the youth in our areas and our communities, they know who our seniors are, and we want our seniors to know that you are okay. It's safe for you to come out and sit on your porches again, and you can say, hey, don't do that, little boy, like they used to do when we were little, without feeling, you know, something's gonna happen in return. So we, on that day, we're gonna start with a parade in Virginia Park. That parade will proceed down Bond Avenue, and then we are going to conclude that day in Allerton Park with activities, bounce house for the kids, and we're all going to do, also we'll have special recognition for those seniors who are still pillars in our community.
Okay, and if individuals are interested in participating, how can they do so?
They can reach us by calling the office at 618-877-2140. They can call me directly, 618-606-0225.
You know, I'm going to switch gears a little bit. And because this issue of the seniors being left behind is very dear to my heart personally, I wonder, and we talked about family members, and it seems to me I'm finding out that within each family, there's always one who's going to take on the bulk.
Absolutely.
Are there services available for the caregiver?
Absolutely. There's tons of services. One I know for certain is the Alzheimer's Association has a respite care program that they want to focus on that caregiver. In the fall, No Senior Left Behind will be doing a caregivers conference, and that day is all about the caregiver who is going through that stress, and you may be that one who, you know, you've gotten or inherited that job to take care of mom or dad. And if they call the office, we can always put you in touch with respite services, caregiver stress conferences. So there's tons of information out there for those caregivers, and that's a lot of why we do this, because they just don't know that the resources are available to them.
And not just the caregiver, but the entire family needs sometimes counseling.
Absolutely.
And my mom at one point was on hospice, and just by the grace of God, they took her off of it. But during that time, the whole family, I believe, needed some counseling just to understand what we're dealing with, because you know we're here one day and life is not guaranteed, but by the grace of God, we make it to become a senior. You know, there are certain things that go along with that, and sometimes they're can be painful.
Absolutely. You know, we have to look at it from a holistic approach. We can't just treat mom because she has Alzheimer's. We do have to educate the family. We do have to provide some spiritual background for the family. It takes touching every one of those different activities in this process to make sure that everybody is good with what's going on now. That's a huge change for a family to take on, you know, the illness, and now what are we going to do? Where is she going to live? Who's going to care for her? How do we pay for this? So there's a lot of different dynamics that we definitely have to make sure all bases are covered for.
Okay, and Better Days Home Care, you have an office. Where are your offices right now? Do you just have one? Or?
Yes, we are currently located in Granite City, Illinois. We are in the America Central Port, which is an incubator space. We are looking to move our services, Stephanie, closer to the East St. Louis area, so we can provide more services and be a little bit more accessible to most of our seniors and their families. Okay,
do you ever network or join in with other agencies, other senior agencies? And how does that go?
Absolutely. We are getting to the point where it's becoming more of a activity. We want to network more with the Metro Chamber of Commerce of East St. Louis, Alzheimer's Association. All of these players, they play a key point in what we're trying to do, and that is to leave no senior behind. We don't just focus on the senior. You know, when there's youth activities, we tap into those too, because somewhere in that audience, that youth has a grandmother. So we definitely want to make sure that we are involved in the community as a whole.
You know, you mentioned the Chamber of Commerce, and I just want to share with you, there's another one, the Business Development Chamber of Commerce in East St. Louis. As a matter of fact, my office is right inside of theirs.
Absolutely.
Barbara Henderson
yes.
is the main contact person there, and she would love to talk with you. I'm speaking for you, Barbara. I'm sorry about that, but she would love to talk with
Absolutely.
you about that. Are there any other things that our audience needs to be abreast of, activities that may be going on or coming up that we have not touched on?
Yes, we are always in the community and always trying to get the word out. Of course, this is a nonprofit organization, so donations is how we survive and how we can keep no senior from being left behind. Right now, our big challenge is a change challenge. So we have mason jars with labels, and we're dropping them off in different businesses, and we're saying just collect the change. Collect the change, because that really does make a difference. Every penny does count when it comes to medical supplies. So yes, feel free to contact us for
Now, I'm going to do something that you don't expect. I heard that you can sing.
Really?
Somebody told me you can sing. Do you sing to the seniors?
I do.
Do you really?
I do.
I was really just kidding about, but you do?
I do, especially when I'm sitting one-on-one. I love that, because I always ask families during the assessment, what did he do? What did she do? Did she like music? Did she play the piano? When they can tell you things like that, you can tap into that, and you'll see it could be a senior that really doesn't respond, but if you start singing to them, they kind of light up, and they know, because they're still in there.
Would you do it a little bit of something for our audience, or do you want me to just?
We'll save that, Stephanie.
Are you sure? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. We'll save that, but I want to thank you, Tawanda, for coming to Smile Television Talk Show, and just like I asked Lynne, will you come back?
Absolutely. We love this opportunity.
Okay.
Thank you for having us.
Okay. I want to thank you again. And don't forget, support Tawanda Story with the Better Days Home Care. They have such a needed service. You may have seniors who need the services. You may have loved ones who are caring for seniors, and she can help direct you to your resources. So thank you again, Tawanda.
Thank you, Stephanie.
And I want to thank you for staying with us on Smile Television Talk Show. I want to also thank our guests again, Lynne Jackson and Tawanda Story. Smile Television Talk Show is aired every Monday. And if you're interested in supporting Smile Television Talk Show, if you're interested in being a guest, if you have some ideas for topics or subjects for our broadcast, contact me. You can call me at 618-741-3770. You can also send me an email at smilesconsulting777@gmail.com. Smile Television Talk Show is aired every Monday at 11:30 a.m. on Charter Cable Channel 191 and at 8 o'clock p.m. on Charter Cable Channel 984. Remember, only what you do for Christ will last. And keep smiling. You look better when you smile.